It's time for the Monday Morning Analyst. Hope everyone's doing quite well. Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone who watched last week's Andy Ruiz breakdown. The video did pretty well, and people seem to like it, so I'm very appreciative that you guys took the time to watch that. I want to talk about Henry Cejudo today. But before I do, I want to show you one thing, and we're going to get into Henry Cejudo. Normally, I would save this for the end, but if I save it for the end, we're not going to get to it. So I want to put it right at the front. Just very, very quickly. Every technique breakdown that you see, typically on YouTube, they're all done a little bit differently. Shouts to everybody who does it. Some people have longer videos. Some people have shorter videos. The Weasel is a great breakdown channel. He does a little bit of like play-by-play, sort of goes through the fight. He's phenomenal. He's great. There's mixed, there's one person, I forget the exact name of their YouTube account, but they do, it's like, what is his name? It's a play on MMA, something martial artist. He's quite good. Shane Faison does good for fight tips, although he does less breakdowns. Obviously, Dan Hardy's great as well. I try to do more like explication. I think that style is a little bit different than the other ones. But there's one thing I harp on that I just don't hear a lot of analysts talk about, and it is very surprising to me, because to me it's a really fundamental concept, which is the half beat. If you watch the Monday Morning Analyst, you know how often I talk about the half beat. And if you're new to it, there's a standard rhythm that everybody typically operates at. You don't want to strike on the rhythm. You want to strike right at the half before the next one goes. You have to disrupt their timing. And the reason why is not just because they're, from a timing standpoint, not used to it. Their balance might not be set. Did you all see what Valentina Shevchenko did over the weekend? I thought she had murdered Jessica Eye, to be quite candid with you, but mercifully, Jessica lived. Go to the slides here if you can here very quickly. I want to show you something. Daniel Cormier was absolutely right when he talked about Shevchenko going to the body, going to the body, going to the body, and then going to the head. That's all absolutely true. Can we go to the slides? Por favor? There we are. There was one other thing she did. I want you to pay attention to the timing on this, and then we're going to change gears here very quickly to Henry Cejudo. Watch what happens here, right? This is the one angle I picked. So you see her set her feet, right? She switches her hips. She's going to go from facing this way to kind of like, let's see, watch. Right, so she's facing a little bit this way. She switches her hips, but look at this. She's timing this forward approach that Jessica had, where she wasn't coming straight in. She was doing sort of a circular motion, less than cutting her off, more just backing her up. I want you to pay attention to something. She steps her foot in. That's when Shevchenko begins to throw. She sets and throws, and look at Jessica Eye's foot. It hasn't even hit the ground yet. By the time it does, boom. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not just that spatially she understood where she was and knew to throw it. She was able to do that while catching her on the half. That is a level of skill I'd say maybe 5 UFC fighters have, to do it like that. To do it like that. That is extraordinary. You will see this very rarely if you watch MMA. No one is usually quite that good. Look at this. Jessica Eye was dead before her foot even, I hate to use these terms, she was beaten before she ever had a chance to set her balance. She was halfway to the home run before this foot can even hit the ground. Dunzo. Dunzo. And I also want to pay attention, Daniel Cormier was like, well, she thought it was, and he was right, that she was kind of hunched over. Jessica Eye, if you watch, she was kind of approaching like this, almost like a halfway wrestling stance. But I want you to pay attention to the location of the shot. It's right here. Even if you had a glove up by the ear, it still would have hit the crown of the head. I'm not sure a halfway defense would have stopped that. But the real lesson here is, I have people write me all the time saying no one ever talks about the half beat, no one ever talks about the half beat. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let it be known, gold ring embedded with stone. I talk about the half beat constantly because it is what separates very good strikers from the truly elite, the ones who can time you. Those are the ones. Boom. And just look at this timing one more time. As Jessica Eye steps in, look at that. It's over. It's over, and the kick hasn't even landed because she doesn't have any chance to defend herself. She gets hit right on the half beat. That is sniper work. All right, put the thumbnail back up, please. All right, with that out of the way, with that self-congratulations out of the way, let's do this. Let's talk about Henry Cejudo. I went back and I rewatched the main event to sort of see how things happened. That is what today's lesson is primarily about. And what happened is a story of adaptability. It's a story of digging deep. It's a story of just somebody who's a born competitor who has managed to put the pieces of the puzzle, of his abilities anyway, together. Some people cannot maximize their own skills. He, in my judgment, is doing it. I mentioned this on my personal post-fight special that I did, but it's worth reiterating here with some additional details. It is not merely that Henry Cejudo was losing that fight against Marlon Moraes in the main event at UFC 238 and came back, although that's part of the story. It's not merely that he kind of plateaued with those 2 losses in a row against Johnson and Benavidez and then figured out and hit a new gear. It is also, if you look at his career, 2 things are kind of clear. He had to dig deep in the Olympics against, what is the Japanese guy's name in the finals? Also in the semifinals, and I believe in the quarters as well. He was behind every single match in the Olympics. A lot of folks don't know this. When he won the gold medal, he ended up having to come from behind constantly to win. Constantly. And he did. He has an ability to dig deep in ways that are hard to express. And what does that mean? It means that when most people are prepared to quit, including other elite athletes, he simply will not let himself. He simply finds another gear. It sounds so obvious. Oh, I'm just not going to be deterred. Your body will tell you to be deterred. Your mind will play tricks on you. It's why it's why the phrase exists. Fatigue makes cowards of men. Add in punishment on top of it, and most of us become cowards pretty quickly. Not Henry Cejudo. For him to show these hallmarks of just a willingness to never give up, to always push back, it is truly, truly remarkable. And there is one more detail about this. Henry Cejudo came out of the Olympics as the USA Wrestling's golden child. I think he was the only one at that Olympics, including Rovat, Marcos. It was Mako, Rovat, DC, Askren, himself. Who am I forgetting? Somebody else in the category I think above him, but before. I forget who the rest of that team was. He was the only one that medaled for the freestyle team. He was the only one that medaled. He was the saving grace for the Beijing Games. And then he came out of it, and I remember distinctly when he tried to make the 2012 Games and he failed. What were some reasons for that? Well, one, I want to focus in on this headline here. This is from Bloody Elbow. This is from a guy who used to write for Bloody Elbow by the name of Mike Reardon. Mike Reardon wrestled at wrestled Division I at the Citadel. In my judgment, he is the best writer in MMA ever who covered and understood amateur wrestling. He was the best, and he gave it up to pursue a different career. He wrote this in 2013 or 2014. I can't remember exactly when, but it was reasons to worry about Henry Cejudo's future as a fighter. Why? Because coming out of the 2012 national team trials, he didn't even make the team, much less go on to win. By the way, before the Olympics, he had placed 31st at the World Championships, highly disappointing. And again, comes back. This guy is the comeback king. It's amazing what he's been able to do. But the point is this. So he fails to make a national team. Looks like his wrestling career is over. He actually retired, I believe, at that meet. And there were some concerning signs. He was with Terry Brands, a legend in the wrestling community, and Brands apparently was unimpressed with his work ethic. He was not training Henry Cejudo at the Olympic Training Center. He had his own private teams, some of which are still in place, but a lot of them are now gone. But the ones who are gone back then were seen as a very deleterious influence on him. So people in the wrestling community were like, he's not really putting in the effort. He's got all the skill in the world, but he's got the wrong people around him for the most part, not in totality, but a lot of the wrong ones. He's not in the right place. Whatever magic was ended. This was written in 2012. And if you go and read the whole thing, it's actually, I don't mean to blow up Mike Reardon. Oh, he was so wrong. He was right. His concerns were well-founded. The difference is Henry figured it all out. Henry kept the right people around him. Eric Albarracin, I think, is one of the key ingredients, and got with some of the other right trainers, put himself in the right mind space, and the results speak for themselves. I encourage you to go back and find this from Bloody Elbow. It's a shame Mike doesn't write in MMA anymore. He was so good, by the way, UFC commentators were writing him to learn the difference between single legs and crackdowns and high crotches and everything else. Mike Reardon was a true talent in the sport, but he moved on. Anyway, I remember reading this and talking to him, and he was like, dude, the guy's got all the ability in the world. I just don't know if it's all going to materialize. So I think, for me, I'd been a skeptic of Henry Cejudo. It all materialized for me on Saturday night. Now, with that out of the way, here is how he did it. It's actually fairly simple in the end. This is how he adapted and overcame. Anyone who's in the Marine Corps, they know this phase very well. Some kind of challenge greets you in the world, and what is your response? Your response is to adapt and overcome. That is exactly what Mr. Henry Cejudo did on Saturday night, because Marlon Moraes had something for him in that first round, did he not? He certainly did. So what did he do? If you go back and you watch, it took Henry about 9 minutes to figure this out. We're going to look at some of the slides here, but the reality is, early on, he was giving Marlon so much space. And when you have so much space, what's the challenge? The challenge is that now you have to close that distance to make physical contact. The other component is the further you are away, typically the easier it is to read and anticipate. So it's not just that getting into that space can be perilous because you can be timed, but it's easy to read a shot coming your way and then counter. It's easy to circle out. It just creates a ton of problems. Your defense is weaker, your offense is weaker. Unless you're really good at that distance too, which it turns out Marlon was much better in that space. What he ended up doing was he just took the space away. It's not just as simple as that, but that's a key component of it. And the way he was able to do that was what I call, he found the frictionless right hand. What do I mean by frictionless right hand? Okay, what he ended up realizing was, if I'm going to be at space with this guy, his defense is really good, his footwork is really good, his balance is really good, and he can just do better things by his own abilities. But if I find a way to get close to him, I can disrupt his balance, I can take away his footwork, I can eventually, we'll talk about this in a second, find the clinch. And on top of that, I can make the things where his defense comes to life go away. Marlon Moraes stood in the orthodox stance. He switched a little bit, but he had the orthodox stance, so his hand was kind of low. Henry Cejudo realized, if I throw the right in close proximity, it's going to land. And the reason for that is, or I should say the right from his right hand. So that could have been this case, or it could have been this case, depending on his stance. But I called it frictionless because what he realized was, when he tried to throw a punch from, let's say, his cross side too far away, Moraes had good head movement and blocked. When he threw it much closer, the head movement goes away. There's no trunk movement. The only thing that happens is, one, Moraes takes the punch, boom, or he blocked it, which allows him to throw another and another and another. So what do I mean by frictionless? Finding the easiest, shortest path to make contact. That could be from a southpaw stance, and you're throwing a hooking punch because he doesn't see it coming. He actually likes the linear punches that he can slip. The ones that came around with a hook, he had a hard time seeing. Or as a jab, maybe you block it and then you fire it up with something else. Or you fire it from orthodox stance and he's moving one direction and you crash into him as he walks into your punch. The point being is, Marlon Moraes has good defense far away. He's got good balance far away. He's got good footwork far away. When you crowd him, the footwork doesn't do much. He becomes unbalanced in throwing responses, and his head movement goes away. He has to see it from long range to slip. Kelvin Gastelum can slip in short range. Marlon Moraes in this fight had a problem slipping, so he just ate the punch over and over and over and over. Frictionless. Catch him moving into it, got him. Catch him with a jab, even if he blocks so you can follow up with a hook, got him. All different ways. Find the shortest, easiest way to deliver the right hand as you can, and you'll watch every piece of Moraes' game go away. Pretty amazing. This is really what it all comes down to. It's not just that he landed this hand. It's that when he did it in that short order, all the things that make Moraes so gifted as a striker, they all get diminished significantly. So then you follow up with some of the easier stuff. Don't let Moraes set distance or feet. This leads into this, but when you watch early on, you'll look at how much space Cejudo is giving him. That's just, you can't beat the guy that way. Not really. You got to get up in his grill. By the way, I didn't list it here. Part of it is Cejudo has an incredible chin. We don't talk about that, but it's really true. He has an unbelievable chin because a lot of people don't want to trade with Marlon on the inside because he is going to connect, and when he does, he hits hard. This guy just ate a couple of those to deliver all of them back, and I think that was a big deterrence as well. 3, enter the clinch. I went back and looked at some of the numbers. If you look at the first 4 fights, we'll show this. of Cejudo's UFC career, he did a lot of work in the clinch. And what happened in the 5th fight? He fought Demetrius Johnson, where he lost in the clinch. That's when he opened up and had that karate style against Wilson Hayes and other ones as well. He looked phenomenal. He went back to the old Henry here. He is totally comfortable in the clinch now, both as a controlling mechanism, as a takedown mechanism, as you saw in the second Demetrius Johnson fight, and now to deliver punishment. And again, in close quarters, what happened to Marlon Moraes? He just kind of covered up. The feet stopped moving. He didn't launch offense back that was very effective. He certainly wasn't trying to duck and dodge in the clinch. Obviously, that's less of an issue, but he just kind of stood there. If you can get up in his grill, at least if Henry can get up in his grill, he can do good things and then be first. Now, being first when you're far on the outside, not so helpful. Being first when you're on the inside was a major point. What he was able to do was either land and then draw reaction and dodge and then follow up, or just land and land and land again. It was just, it was when Marlon is getting pressed into in this fight and backing up and kind of covering up and then winging a punch. You heard Mark Henry talk about like throwing straighter punches. For sure that would have helped, but I just think existentially that's just not a way for Marlon to succeed, is when someone's doing the kinds of things where he was doing. Straighter punches probably would have helped, no doubt about it. But for me, when someone is just kind of after him like that, you'll see his balance get totally disrupted. He just can't deliver the same kind of mechanisms for offense as before. So those are the ones. But really, it's the frictionless right hand, right? Make this as easy to land in short distance with as little resistance as possible. Just stay on it with this one. Not long range, short distance, timed all, just frequent. Okay, real quickly, if I may. Look at some of these numbers here. I want to show you this one. Clinch, right? Cejudo's on top, I believe. Yeah. In the clinch here, look at this. 11 of 41. Here, 14, 8 of 9 from the clinch. None in the first round, which was the one he lost, right? Pretty simple there. Striking totals, you can just look at here, the numbers he was putting out and how it all went awry. Not a whole lot to look at there. This one I found a little bit more interesting is this part. This is Cejudo here on the left. These are the landed by position, and you can see 21% in the clinch, so a fifth of all strikes landing there. By the way, look at this. Is this not the story of the fight? Whoop, whoop, whoop. Kind of amazing, right? But here, this was the one right there. That should have told you that number, 21% in the clinch, that's the highest it's been since he had the Formiga fight. Right, so he was that old style, but back then it was more like a control, maybe takedown scenario. Here it was just all offense. He tried one takedown or two perhaps, but they didn't really work. Okay, let's get to these. I want you to take a look at this. This is the opening part of the first round. Look at the amount of distance Henry Cejudo is giving this guy. He must go back and watch this tape and be like, what was I thinking? This is crazy amount of distance, right? Look at this. And I just want you to pay attention to this as we go through it. Look at how much distance is between them. And you can say, well, he's just evading there. Right, but it never really changes a whole lot. He's just kind of bouncing on the outside. And you see Marlon loves these charges where he comes in, fakes low, and comes with a left hook. He comes in, fakes with his hands, then comes up high with the head kick. Another key to this one was, I didn't put on the list because I'm trying to condense it. He was really good about anticipating the head kick attacks from Marlon and getting out of the way or ducking under all of them. Really good job by Henry Cejudo there. Again, look at the amount of space. It's just crazy. It's crazy. You can't beat Marlon on the outside like this, right? So he just goes, and you can see just, again, just look at all this daylight between them, right? Crazy. So Marlon's going to win this game every time. This is his world. He's, by the way, he's taken center as well, yeah? Okay. So we're pushing through here. Just look at this. I want to pay attention again. He does that running inside kick all the time. And when you switch stances, he throws it on you too. And again, look at all the space he's giving him. You get the idea. Okay, let's move along here. All right. And he does this one again. Look at these charges he comes in. Kind of fakes low, lowers the level, wants to bring the hands down. Boom. Henry kind of read it, but still. Later in the first minute of the first round, eats that kick. Look at this six-punch combo. Because he's so far away. He's literally at the end of Marlon's punches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, Henry blocked a lot of that, but that's a deterrent pretty badly. Here we are a little bit later. Throws the kick, eats a punch, slips it because he can anticipate it. Look, when he can put you at range, he can do this. Pop, pop. That's when his defense is pretty good. Again, look at how far away they are. Crazy, right? Here he is. He does that running bit again, pushes away and gets up under it. He has nice defense up here. You can see him holding the hand. When he can get his balance forward like this and he get his feet under him, he can do good circling all the time. Look at the distance. Look at how far apart they are. They're not even in kicking range here. He has to step in. He throws it, right? Follows him. Let's see what happens. Comes in again, throws that high kick, backing him up the whole time. And again, just you can't win that way, man. You get the idea. Here he is. Southpaw, I think he changed his stances. Boom, he throws this one. No, wait, he was before orthodox? Yeah. So look, he's orthodox. You can't quite see it because he's switching. He switches to south there. I didn't edit this right. And then he kicks him to sort of like, as soon as he's changing stances, to disrupt his timing and his offense, right? And he does it again. All right. So you just first round, he's just getting torn up. This was the first one. He comes in with his push kick, and this is when, again, from this far out, he's got decent defense. He can get out of the way, slips off, or just leans off the center line when he throws, right? He's fine that way. But when you begin to crowd him, all of that goes away. You see it here. This was the first time he really landed. Throws this kick. Then he gets the reaction from Marlon, and then he begins to throw. And look at what happens as a consequence. Kick, duck, punch, push. Now look at the response from Marlon here. He's throwing a hook. Even if this hook lands, it wouldn't knock anyone out. There's no power under his feet like that. Look at that. There's no power. Then I think a light bulb went off in his head for Henry Cejudo. Again, look at how far apart they are. He tries to punch at this distance. Marlon can see it coming, and he slips, but he gets out of the way. But that was the lesson there. Like if you're firing a left way far away, it's just too far. Here we are in the second round. Now this is where things begin to change a little bit, but you can see he's getting after him. Now he's getting in his grill. Look at this. Getting in his grill a little bit, staying in his face. Now look at the daylight between them, huh? Much, much less daylight. Significantly less daylight. And he's all over him here. Now at first he doesn't know exactly what to throw, but he's staying up in his grill. Look at this. Comes over the top. He fakes it a little bit here, right? He kind of lowers his level. He kind of brings it from his hip. So you can't quite tell where it's coming, can't quite see it. And what do you notice? It lands. When you're this close to him and you're throwing a right that you've disguised or drawn out a reaction on, he doesn't have the same head movement. Again, I'm not saying every opponent can do this, but in this fight, that's the lesson. And you keep going. Again, frictionless right hand. I want to land as often and as short distance as possible, right? He goes high, he fakes, boom. Now, he eats one here, but look what he's trying to do. He's up in him, and look at the balance of Marlon Moraes. He will throw in close quarters to react to you, but if you're crowding him, you can disrupt everything. Look at this. He's got, as my man Self-Titled would say, he's got gangsters leaning to the side like italic letters, right? Look at that. Boom. Now he's begun to figure it out a little bit, switching stances. By the way, Marlon is circling this way. So what do you expect might happen? Let's see. Catches him moving in a little bit. Now, Marlon was good with the kick there, so that was a little bit even. Pushes him back, stays in his grill. He kind of fakes low, comes high again. This time Marlon anticipated it, but what does he do? Stays up in his grill. Stays up in his grill. He's fading into the right hand here, right? Going this direction. Fading into the right hand. Stays in his grill. Pop. Catches him. Which way is Marlon moving? This way. So what do you think is going to happen? Whoop. And he kind of double pumps on it there just a little bit, like a little bit delayed timing on it. Catches him. By the way, where's the head movement? Watch Marlon's head. It's just the speed, the timing. There's a big opening here. And as a consequence, he takes advantage of it over and over and over again. There he is. Look at him staying with the right hand too. A lot of people think that you have to go side to side with strikes. Sometimes you can. Sometimes you don't have to. Boom. Uppercut. Stays on him. Right hand. Right hand. And again, quick. He kind of gets a little bit out of the way there, but still Henry's on him, in his face, no more daylight. And look at how everything just goes away. Look at how Marlon can't set. Look at how Marlon can't anticipate. If you want to fence at distance, he can anticipate. If you want to get up in there, he can't. Not with Henry anyway. And again, what happens here? He's fading this direction. So what do you think is going to happen? Pop, catches him right down the middle of the gloves, right in that center spot. Pretty nicely done. All over him. All over him. Pop. No setup. Boom. Where's the head movement? There is none. Now Marlon, he's trying to fight back. Boom. Right hand, ducking, getting out of the way, resetting, up in his grill. Let's look for a frictionless right hand. There it is. Jab, pushing him back. Jab, pushing him back. No head movement. Now I can grab. Boom, knee, fake to a right hand. Over and over and over again. Right hand, over again, pushing him back. Right hand again. And this is what I mean when I say he has a good chin. Who could take this? Pop. Not everybody. Look at Cejudo's head. Whack. He's got a good chin, man. Like Marlon can thump. And so that tells you a lot. But then he clinches, and he's just all over him here. Boom, all over. By the way, it's a nice headshot on the exit there from Marlon. But he's all banged up here. Boom, right hand. He's just finding it over and over again. If you can crowd the space from that right side, he's just not, in this fight, capable of making a quick read. From that right side, he just can't read. So here it comes over and over and over again. Boom. And what does he do from this spot? He just kind of defends. He just kind of hangs out. He's just getting banged on here. Again, look at how often the first punch is measure, right hand. And you see Marlon getting off a little bit, right? But for the most part, that defense is just not there. Here we are, third round, very quickly. What's he doing here? Measuring, banging, getting inside, pushing, banging, right hand. Where's he moving into? This side. What do you think is going to happen? He's going to go that side again. Again, this is what I mean when I say Cejudo just read this stuff really well. Gets in on him. Goes for a trip. Can't turn his hips over. His hips are still facing, so the takedown doesn't work. But he's all up in his grill. Frictionless right hand. Eats the punch. Stays on him. Right hand. Right uppercut. Right hand. Right? Look at this. Look at the feet of Marlon. They never set. Nothing ever sets. Bang. Over and over again. Bang. Clinches up. Here we are. Oops. Almost done. All right. Nearly gets the takedown. Comes over here. Real quickly, why did this Gator roll not work? Why did it not work? All right. So this part is nice. So this is your Gator roll right here, right? This is called a Gator roll. It's an anaconda choke that he's got set up. Why did the Gator roll not work? All right, so he's got, it looks like it's locked up here, but there's not enough because there's not really a choke from this position. You can't really, you're not collapsing it enough. So why did it not work? Here's why it didn't work. Shouts to Danny Ives at Ivy League MMA in Annapolis, Maryland. He showed me this 15 years ago. This is the best tip I've ever gotten for this position. Here is what he told me. You don't roll straight over. It's too hard. And there's not enough, you can't control the body enough. What you really want is you want to dip your head into this pocket at an angle. And as a consequence, you're going to come up through, which is going to allow you to hook the top leg. Actually, I think it's the other one. It's going to allow you to hook the top leg. And when you do, that's when you can squeeze everything together. Watch what Henry does here. He just goes and rolls kind of over. And so you can't take him off of his base that way. When you get into the pocket, when you get into the pocket, it actually turns them off their base. It actually lifts this side a little bit easier, so they come over. Best tip I've ever gotten, man. If you put your head inside the hole at an angle, makes it so much better. Anyway, so he doesn't, and as a consequence, he's still based out. So then he just kind of goes to his back to loosen the grip and then comes back to his base. But okay, you can put the thumbnail up here. What is the fundamental lesson? It was that this guy realized at space, I'm not having any luck, and he tried a couple of entries to land the right hand. Initial ones coming off of a kick to close distance, and then finding another one. He liked what he saw, so he built off of that, closed it, found the frictionless one. Didn't matter if he was standing this side or this side. Didn't matter which way Marlon was circling. Marlon is one fighter way at a distance. Against Henry in close, he was a completely different fighter. Once he discovered that, it wasn't broke, no need to fix it. That's your Monday Morning Analyst.